People say impossible puzzles stay impossible forever, but everything changed the moment a quiet Filipina girl did something the world had failed to do for years. The story begins with 19-year-old Althea Vergara sitting alone inside her small wooden home, surrounded by recycled papers, broken pencils, and soft afternoon light coming through thin curtains. She is focused on a puzzle experts claim no human mind could ever solve. Her table is old, her calculator is scratched, her clothes are simple, but her eyes are steady and sharp. In front of her lies the legendary problem known across universities and research institutions, the infinite grid sequence puzzle, a mathematical riddle that had confused experts, professors, and top researchers for decades. Big universities tried, high-level scientists tried, computer simulations tried. Every attempt failed. Yet here is Althea, a girl from a humble Filipino family, studying the puzzle with quiet calm as if it were just another challenge. Her mother sells vegetables in the local market. Her father repairs bicycles. Her family cannot afford tutors, advanced tools, or expensive education, but Althea has something far more powerful. She sees patterns everywhere. She sees meaning inside chaos. She sees order in places where everyone else sees confusion. Even as a child, she organized stones, bottle caps, coins, and shells into perfect patterns without anyone teaching her. Teachers always said she had an unusual mind, a rare way of thinking that didn't follow normal steps. She solved problems backward, sideways, upside down, but always solved them. For her, puzzles were not battles. They were worlds where she could breathe. She discovered the infinite grid sequence puzzle online by accident. A research institution uploaded it as a global challenge. Anyone could try. But the truth was simple. No one outside expert circles had ever come close. Still, something about the puzzle caught her attention, not its difficulty. Not its fame, the structure, the shapes, the flow of the numbers. They felt familiar to her mind. She printed the problem on cheap paper and placed it on her table. She studied it quietly. Hours passed, then days. And every day she made little notes, tiny arrows, shapes, clusters of numbers, patterns that looked messy to others but perfectly organized to her. Sometimes she paused to wash dishes. Sometimes she paused to sweep the front yard. Sometimes she helped her mother carry baskets. But every time she returned to the puzzle, she saw new connections. It was as if the puzzle slowly revealed itself to her piece by piece. She found patterns inside patterns. She found sequences hidden inside bigger sequences. She found movements that experts never noticed because they were looking at the puzzle like a solid wall, but Althea looked at it like a doorway. Nights blended into early morning. The small lamp on her table flickered as she worked quietly while the rest of the world slept. And then, after many silent hours, she suddenly stopped writing. She stared at her sheet. Her heartbeat slowed. Her breathing grew calm. She placed her pencil down and whispered to herself, "I think I solved it." No shouting, no excitement. Just quiet certainty. The next morning, she submitted her solution to the Research Institute with a simple message. "Here is my answer." The institute received thousands of attempts every week, so no one expected anything special. But when an analyst opened her file, he frowned. Then he looked closer. Then he stood up and called his colleague. Soon another joined. Then another. A small crowd formed around the computer. The room fell silent. They checked her equations again and again. They compared her approach to previous failed attempts. The more they studied her work, the more impossible it seemed. A girl with no advanced tools, no high-level training, no professional research background had solved a puzzle that the smartest minds in the world had tried to crack for decades. They sent her solution to mathematicians in Europe, Asia, and North America for verification. One team after another confirmed the same conclusion. The puzzle was solved, completely, elegantly, and brilliantly. And the name on the solution was Filipino. News spread immediately. Social media lit up. Forums exploded. Scientists debated her methods. People questioned whether she was real, whether she cheated, or whether someone helped her. But when researchers asked for a video call, they were shocked. A soft-spoken Filipina girl appeared on the screen, sitting in her family's small living room, wearing a simple shirt. She answered every question clearly, calmly, honestly. They challenged her to explain her logic. She walked them through her thought process step by step. They asked for variations. She solved them instantly. They asked her to demonstrate alternate methods. She showed them two more. A professor from Switzerland leaned back in disbelief. A researcher from Japan stared at her with admiration. A mathematician from the United States said, "I studied this puzzle for 12 years." She solved it in months. But the reactions that touched her heart the most came from Filipino educators and local scientists. They celebrated her as proof that intelligence exists everywhere, even in places the world often overlooks. Soon, an international mathematics conference invited her to present her work. She had never traveled outside the Philippines. She had never been on a plane. She had never even owned a passport. Her parents helped her pack clothes. Her father held her shoulders and said, "No matter what happens, we are proud." When she arrived, the conference hall was filled with experts, hundreds of them. People with PhDs, people with decades of experience. People who had tried and failed to solve the puzzle she cracked. When she walked onto the stage, something incredible happened. The entire room stood up and applauded her. Not a polite clap. A deep, loud, powerful applause that echoed through the hall. Althea held her notes tightly as her hands shook. But when she began speaking, something changed. Her voice grew steady. Her mind focused. The same calmness she had while solving the puzzle returned. She explained the entire solution using simple words that everyone, even non-experts, could understand. Her approach was beautiful in its simplicity, elegant in its structure, powerful in its logic. When she finished, the audience erupted again with applause. Researchers lined up to speak with her. Some told her, "Your solution changed how we look at the problem." Others said, "I didn't think it was possible in my lifetime." After the conference, universities offered her scholarships. Research groups wanted her to join them. Tech companies sent invitations. She had opportunities she never imagined. But Althea knew what she wanted. She wanted to stay connected to her roots. She wanted to help Filipino children discover the beauty of logic and patterns. She returned home, carrying not wealth, but wisdom and confidence. Months later, she used her scholarship money to build a small learning center in her village. The walls were simple, the tables were plain, but the place was full of energy. Children gathered after school to learn from her. She taught them how to observe patterns, how to think deeply, how to solve problems step by step. She never told them she was famous. She never mentioned the awards. She wanted them to learn because they were curious, not because she was a global sensation. But her story continued to spread. Documentaries featured her. Interviews quoted her. Scientists studied her methods. One interviewer asked, "Why do you think you solved the puzzle when experts couldn't?" She smiled softly and said, "They looked at the puzzle like a wall. I looked at it like a door." That line went viral around the world. Students printed it on notebooks. Teachers wrote it on classroom boards. Researchers shared it online. Today, Althea continues solving complex problems. She reads, she studies, she teaches. Some call her a prodigy. Some call her a genius. Some call her the girl who broke the impossible puzzle. But she prefers something simple, a girl who loves puzzles. And the experts? They still react with amazement every time she solves a new problem, every time she explains a complex idea, every time she proves that brilliance can come from anywhere. A Filipina genius solved a puzzle no one could. And in doing so, she opened a new door for students around the world, inspiring millions to believe that impossible things can be solved by ordinary people with extraordinary minds.